Harshman, we can go live. All right, folks, I think I'm live. I'm going to wait for confirmation on YouTube chat as usual. So let me know if the AV is clear and then we can get started with the session. AV is perfect. Okay. Naveen has confirmed. 2M team has confirmed as well. Thanks, Naveen. I hope it's clear for others as well. We'll probably do one quick other check from somebody else. Sangini is saying it's correct. It's all right. Great. Awesome. Thank you for confirming. Sunmeet, Pragya, Aditya. Fantastic. Ayush, good to see you all. Okay, fantastic, folks. Let's get started without any further delay. Okay, I'm glad we're starting on time. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jatin. I'm the head of VRC and student care at 2IM. And I'll be conducting today's session. Okay, so now before we begin, since this is the first VRC Blitzkrieg of the session, I'm going to give you an intro of the session. It's called VRC Blitzkrieg. We do this every year. Okay, and we're doing this for CAT 24 students as well. What we are going to do in these sessions is we're going to discuss CAT passages, or rather all the questions that appeared for VRC in CAT 23. Okay, this includes both RCs and verbal ability. Okay, so there are going to be several sessions. They're all going to be live so that you can interact with me, ask me questions and learn. Today, we're going to start with CAT 23 slot 1 RCs. We're going to do 2 RCs today. Then we'll do 2 more the next week, and then so on and so forth. Okay, so every week on Friday at 8 p.m., we're going to have this VRC Blitzkrieg till we complete all the questions of CAT 23. Okay, so join me at 8 p.m. every Friday on YouTube Live. We'll discuss the questions together, and you can ask me also all your questions about VRC, and I'm more than happy to answer it. Okay, so yeah, so it's pretty simple, the format. The only requirement for these sessions is that when we're discussing RCs, you should pre-read the RCs and come prepared. Okay, so of course, this is the first session. So, I'll give you time to read the RCs, not too much, because just in the interest of time. But definitely when you're coming for the next session on Friday, pre-read the RCs. We always include the link of the RCs in the description. So pre-read the RCs, come prepared, and then we'll solve the questions together. You don't have to solve the questions beforehand. Just read the passages and come prepared. Okay, yes, there'll be VA questions as well, Anish. So what we're going to do is we're starting with RCs. Once we're done with slot 1 RCs, we'll go to slot 1 VA. Okay, so I'll cover all the 23 questions. Okay, but definitely pre-read the RCs before you come for the next session. Okay, now if you want today's RCs, the link, you will find it in chat. You will also find it in the YouTube video description. So there is a document link. You can click on it, open it, and those are the RCs that we're going to discuss today. All right. Yes, MRL gaming. That's what I said. You have to pre-read the passages and come prepared. You don't have to solve the questions. Just read the passages in the interest of time so that we can start discussing the questions straight up. All right. Okay. Fantastic. Now, today, of course, I'll give you time, but you can open the document link, which is going to be sent on chat. My team will send it, and also in YouTube description. Open the document and we can start reading it. Now, before we begin, just want to quickly tell you about All India Mock CAT that we're conducting at 2IM. So this weekend, we're conducting an All India Mock. This is the second All India Mock of the season. We did our first one in June. It was received very well. So we're repeating it in July. Okay. So this is a mock which is going to be open from July 6th to 8th. That's Saturday to Monday. It will open tomorrow. It will close at midnight Monday. Okay. 2IM students, of course, this is a part of your course, right? But for non-2IM students, if you're interested in appearing for this mock, it's $49 only. All right. You can register for it. We'll send you the link in chat. Just register for it. And then you can attempt the mock anytime in these 3 days. Okay, so it's a high quality mock designed by our senior most faculties. The last mock was very well received. Each question will be supported with a detailed text and video solution, and thousands of students appear for this mock. So you'll get an all India percentile, and then you can benchmark your performance. Okay, so it's an excellent opportunity. Definitely register for it and appear for it. If you're a 2IM student, you don't have to register. You can just attempt it straight away because it's a part of your course. All right, the link will be sent on chat. My team will send it. They pinned it as, I think, pinned it as well. But if my team folks, I'm talking to my team, just send the link, registration link on chat. Sushita, 2M students don't have to register. I just mentioned that. Okay. All right. Okay, folks, let's get started. Now open the document, all right, which is in the YouTube video description. The first RC that we're going to discuss is titled as geography. Okay, the title doesn't matter. CAT RCs don't have titles, but this is what I want you to read. Okay, don't read from the screen because it's incomplete. Read from the document. I'll give you about 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes to read the RC. Once you've read the RC, then we'll start discussing the questions. Okay, so typically what I tell my students is read it very actively and aggressively with a lot of interest. Read the whole RC, extract the main idea of the RC in your head, keep that ready, and then we'll start discussing the questions. So I'll give you about 5 minutes and then we'll get started. Okay, go for it, people. Lokesh, if you're a 2M student and mocks are included as part of your course, then you don't need to register. Okay, so self-paced students also don't need to register because mocks are a part of your course. All right, folks, I hope you're reading the RC. I'm going to shut up so that you can concentrate and then we'll start discussing. Just give me a thumbs up once you're done reading and extracting the main idea. Okay, go for it. Now, the first passage, Ajit, not the second passage. It's called geography. Go to the document, read the first passage. Should be the first passage in the document as well. Match the content with the screen. This is the passage that I want you to read. Okay. All right, people. So I'll definitely, there's no rush. You can, we have to be conscious of time. But give me a thumbs up once you're done reading. All right. And best would be if you can just send me the main idea on chat. Okay. Try to extract the main idea. All right. I tell this to my students all the time that every time you attempt an RC, there is a certain approach that you should follow. Number one, you should read very actively and aggressively. That means you take a lot of interest in what you're reading. All right. For every paragraph, make a note. All right. The main point of that paragraph. Now, this can be a mental note or a written note, depending on what works for you. If mental notes work, great. Otherwise, you can take a written note as well. And then once you're done reading the RC, you extract the main idea in 2 to 3 sentences. Once you have the main idea in your head, it will help you in all the questions. Okay, so try to send me the main idea in your own words. Okay, of course, I'll tell you my main idea as well, but try to do that. Or you can just say you're done reading, give me a thumbs up, and then we'll start discussing. Okay, great. 3 people have responded, but done. Either you send me the main idea or you say done or you give me a thumbs up. I'll wait for a few more duns and then we'll start discussing. Okay, Vanchika, I've noted your questions. So any general questions, I'll handle them at the end. Okay, but I'll definitely handle that. Don't worry. I'll make sure to scroll up later and then answer your question. Okay, I have a main idea from Nikhil. Very nice. Mainstream scholars tend to denounce, not consider the geographic factors that play a role on human characteristics due to 3 reasons, which are specified in the passage. Good job, Nikhil. You're definitely on the right track. Okay, of course, I'll give you my version of the main idea, but you're definitely on the right track. Very good job, by the way, of extracting the main idea. This will really help you folks. Okay. Sometimes in my class also, students get tired of me asking them to write the main idea. And then, like the question is, oh, but we always get options. Why should I write it down and stuff? The thing is, when you write it down and you extract it and you put in that effort, right, you really build skill of extracting main idea. And it's the cornerstone of RCs. If you're able to extract the main idea successfully, and that will only happen if you practice, that will help you to answer all the questions in the RC. Okay, so definitely do that. Okay, give me a couple more duns and then we'll get started. I've given you some extra time this time because it's the first session, but next time, please pre-read and come so that we can just focus on the questions. Okay, Ayush, send me the main idea as well. Case studies to support the different ideas of human phenomena are affected either by geographic and non-geographic factors. Very good. Now, Ayush and Nikhil, if I combine both your points, our main idea is pretty much complete. Okay, so we'll talk about it. But Ayush, you're on the right track as well. There's one part missing, Ayush. Nikhil has covered that very well. And I think the part that you covered, Nikhil missed out on. So I think that Nikhil plus Ayush's main idea is the complete main idea. Okay, let's start discussing the questions, people. Now, this is how we'll do it. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is, of course, I'll discuss the passage as well. But I don't want to discuss the passage up front, because if I discuss the passage up front, I might end up giving you a lot of answers, in my explanation. So let's not do that. What we'll do is we'll go to question 1. Okay. We'll discuss all the questions. Of course, I'll explain each question in detail. Then I'll give you my main idea at the end. And then if you want, I can discuss the passage as well. Okay. Fantastic. Now just answer one question. Of course, there's a bit of lag on YouTube. So I'll start discussing, but I'll ask you a question. Did you think while reading the passage that this passage had a good structure to it, had a clear structure to it? Just say yes or no in chat, and I'll show you the first question. Did you think there was a clear structure to it? Were you able to spot that? Yes. Okay. Good. Very good. Now see, one tip I'll give you. Not all passages will have a clear structure like this, but if you're able to spot a structure, okay, in your head, believe me, it really helps in comprehension. Okay, and this passage had a beautifully clearly laid out structure, right? Two factors, and then sort of like the author explains it and then goes in one direction, right? So if you're able to spot a structure, that helps you in comprehension. But of course, not every time you'll be able to spot a clear structure. But keep that at the back of your mind. When you're reading, try to figure out a structure, a skeleton. It really helps in comprehension. Okay, now give me 1 minute. I'm figuring out how to run a poll here. Okay, I think I found it. Let me just bear with me here. Okay, let's do this. Correct. You can see the question on the screen. Okay, don't type your answer in chat. I'll run a poll. You can answer it there. There you go. The poll is in front. It's a very simple poll. Okay, just have to pick the right answer. Now, folks, when you're solving questions, don't rush into it. This is not a speed contest. I'd rather you be accurate. Okay, so take your time. Read the question and options very carefully. Evaluate each and every option, and then figure out the correct answer. Go for it. Take your time. Take your time. I don't want you to rush. I'd rather have you be accurate here. Of course, I'll give you a limited time. There's 1 minute has elapsed. I'll give you a couple more minutes, and then we'll start discussing. I'll let you know when there are 30 seconds remaining. Okay, I'll give you 30 more seconds. All right, last 10 seconds, people. Of course, later, let me know in chat if you need more time for the next question. I'm happy to give you more time as well. Okay, I'll close the poll in 10 seconds. Okay, there's a bit of a lag, so that's going to be a bit of an issue here. But I think you must have gotten the 10-second mark, so I'm going to end the poll now. Okay, great. So you can see how you voted on the screen. Okay, so it's pretty split, right? You folks are pretty split. So 30, the majority. I mean, there is a majority, but it's less than 50%. 2 is your first choice, option 2. Okay, then followed by 3, that's your second choice. It's quite close. Then followed by 1, that's your third choice, and then 15% for 4. So it's pretty split. Every time the options are split, That's an indicator that, many students found this tricky. Now let's solve this question. This is the first question that we're solving, the first question of the season on YouTube for 2IM. So we'll solve it very slowly. I'll tell you how to approach these questions, and so that you can learn the right approach and then implement it for the next few questions. So I always say that when it comes to questions, right, really slow down. Read the questions and options like a child. Okay, it's very different from how you read the passage. When you're reading the passage, of course, you're reading each and every word, you're extracting the main idea, but you're focusing on the main idea. But when it comes to questions and options, read it like a child. Read each and every word. Okay, I'll demonstrate that. So it says, let's solve this question, okay? All of the following can be inferred from the passage except. Now, this is an except question. They're very common in CAT. If these questions are confusing you, I'll give you a very simple way of solving it. If except questions confuse you, first read it without except. So what does it say? All of the following can be inferred from the passage. That means all 4 options can be inferred from the passage. All 4 options. So first read it without except. Now bring in except. Except 1. Okay, so all 4 can be inferred except 1. That means 3 can be inferred, 1 cannot be inferred, and our job is to pick this one. If this is confusing you, do it like this. Read it without except, then bring in except, and now you can write it down and say, not inferred. And this is what we're picking. We have to pick the option that cannot be inferred from the passage because it's an except question. All right. Now, whenever it comes to inferences, always look for evidence. Okay. Inference questions, in fact, all questions in CAT are inferential in nature. Whenever you're drawing an inference, you have to look for evidence. If there is no evidence, there is no inference. It's as simple as that. So go back to specific portions and of the passage and check if you have evidence or not. Let's now try to evaluate it. Now we look at option 1. Agricultural practices changed drastically in the Australian continent after it was colonized. Now, if you've read the passage effectively, you will get a trigger that, yes, I did read about the Australian continent somewhere in the passage. You'll get that trigger, maybe in the second half, something like that, if you've read it effectively. So what does the option say? Agricultural practices changed drastically in the Australian continent after it was colonized. Let's go back to the passage and check where it was talking about the Australian continent. Okay, let's see. Somewhere here. Okay. Let's see. Contingency, third. Yeah, here you go. So the second paragraph, okay, it says, right. Now see, Aboriginal Australia remained the sole continent occupied only by hunter-gatherers and with no indigenous farming or herding. That means the Australian continent, Aboriginal Australia, didn't have any indigenous farming, didn't have any local farming or herding. Here the explanation is biogeographic. The Australian continent has no domesticable native animal species and few domesticable native plant species. So the Australian continent didn't really have anything of its own. Okay, it didn't have any domestic native animal species and very few domestic native plant species. Instead, the crops and domestic animals that now make Australia a food and wool exporter are all non-native, mainly Eurasian species, such as sheep, wheat, and grapes brought to Australia by overseas colonists. So now this statement, when you read this statement tells you that colonization did have an impact on Australian agriculture, isn't it? That's an inference that you can draw from here. Aboriginal Australia didn't have any indigenous farming or herding, didn't have any native animals or very few native plant species. All of this came from Eurasian countries, and it was brought to Australia by overseas colonists. So colonization did have a major impact on Australian farming or agricultural practices. So can you infer this? You can infer this. There is evidence. We just pointed it out. This can't be an answer because we're looking for that cannot be inferred. I hope this is clear. Okay, I'm going slow in this one, but this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go back to specific portions of the passage and either confirm or figure out your answer by looking for evidence. I just showed you evidence. You should be doing this. If you don't have evidence, you don't have an inference. It's as simple as that. So in your head, you should be able to point out, I'm drawing this inference from this evidence. So this can be inferred. We're looking for not inferred. Let's go to the second one. Okay. Individual diktat and contingency were not the causal factors for the use of fur clothing in some very cold climates. Understand this option. The passage did talk about fur clothing in some very cold climates. And if you've read it effectively, you'll get a trigger that the passage spoke about Arctic. Fur clothing in the Arctic, which is very cold climates. This is general knowledge. Now, the option is saying individual diktat and contingency were not the causal factors. That means fur clothing in some very cold climates were not a result of individual diktat and contingency. That's what the option is saying. Does the passage give us a causal factor for fur clothing? Does the passage tell us why did cold climates use fur clothing? Let's find out. Let's go back. Again, go back to specific portions. Okay. This is where it spoke about the Arctic, right? At the opposite extreme, the Inuit and other traditional people living north of the Arctic Circle developed warm fur clothes, but no agriculture, while equatorial lowland peoples around the world never developed warm fur clothes, but often did develop agriculture. Okay, you can read the lines before as well. The differences between current economies, blah, blah, blah. They instead due to entirely to do different. This is different. At the opposite extreme, the Inuit and other traditional peoples living north of the Arctic Circle developed warm fur clothes. Now, why did they develop warm fur clothes? They developed it because of the climate. No, Lokesh, government policies is different. Government policies has been mentioned in connection with North and South Korea. Here it says at the opposite extreme, the Inuit and other traditional people living north of the Arctic Circle developed warm fur clothes. And then it talks about equatorial lowland, which is hot. So they developed warm fur clothes because of climate, because of geographical factors, not because of individual diktat and contingency. So individual diktat and contingency were not the causal factors. You can infer this. So hence, this is not our answer. I hope this is clear. This was a first choice. It's absolutely fine if you, it's a tricky one. But if you go back to specific portions and reread those specific portions, you won't make this mistake again. Next time, do that for each option. Okay, let's go to this one. This was the second choice. While most human phenomena result from culture and individual choice, some have biogeographic origins. Okay, read the option carefully, like a child, each and every word. While most human phenomena result from culture and individual choice, does the passage say that most human phenomena result from culture and individual choice? What are the two reasons, broad reasons that the passage gives for human phenomena? What are the two broad reasons? Tell me in chat. There is a lag, but you'll tell me in chat. What are the two broad reasons? Many human phenomena and characteristics, okay, are influenced both by geographic factors and by non-geographic factors. Broadly speaking, these are the two factors responsible for human phenomena. Does the passage say that most human phenomena is a result from culture and individual choice? Does the passage say most human phenomena is due to non-geographic factors? Does it say that? Can you infer that? No. It says there are two factors for it. Okay, there are two factors for it. Okay, the most word is not substantiated in the passage. You have to give me evidence. Srinidhi, if you're telling me that this is correct, you have to give me the clear line or lines from which you're drawing the inference that most of them are caused by this. It doesn't say that. It says human phenomena results from geographic and non-geographic. Cultural and individual choice is a part of non-geographic. It doesn't say most. So this you can't infer. We'll park it because we haven't looked at 4 yet. We have to look for the best option. Okay. Several academic studies of human phenomena in the past involved racist interpretations. This you can definitely infer. Okay. This is where it talks about racism. Okay, you can reread that paragraph. That's pretty straightforward. So this is also gone. There's only one that cannot be inferred, and that's 3. And hence your answer is 3. Is this clear? Give me a thumbs up if it's clear. Okay, I took time in this one because I wanted to explain the approach. Okay, I'll quickly summarize the approach. Read the questions and options like a child. Read each and every word. One word can change the question. If you didn't read the except here, you would have gotten this wrong. For every inference, go back to specific portion, look for evidence. Of course, don't reread the same passage again, full passage, but go to specific portions the way I did. point out the evidence, and then draw the inference. CAT questions and options are tricky. Don't rely on your memory. Go back to it's absolutely fine when you're solving questions. It's absolutely fine to go back to specific portions of the passage, not the whole passage. Okay, awesome, fantastic. Don't beat yourself up if you got this wrong. This is a tricky one. Learn from it. Next time, I want you to focus on your accuracy. Take your time, do the due diligence. You'll get the next question right. Okay, let's go for this one. I'll run the poll and let's move. And now we'll pick up speed. Okay, since you've understood the approach. 1 second. Let me give you the poll. Till then, keep evaluating the question. Go for it, people. The poll is there. Take your time. This is not a speed contest. I'll give you 3 minutes. I'll give you 4 minutes if you want. Get it right. Okay, just in the interest of time, I don't want to rush you, but I'll give you about 30 more seconds. Okay, and then we'll start discussing. right? Last 10 seconds, people. Okay, I'll end the poll now. All right, so you can see how you voted. It's split as well. This is a tricky question again. Okay, 40% of you. So first choice is 2. All right, then 34%. So second, again close. Second choice is 1. All right, then fourth choice is your. Oh, sorry. Third choice is 4, and fourth choice is 3. Okay, you can see how you voted. All right, let's discuss this. We'll go a little faster. All of the following. So I hope I'm on. Yeah, I'm unmuted. All right. Okay. I'll read the questions like a child. Okay. Each and every word. All of the following are advanced by the author as reasons why non-geographers disregard geographic influences on human phenomena except. Again, it's an except question. So read it without except, then bring in except. So all -1, again 1. The same thing. Okay. So all of the following are advanced by the author as reasons why non-geographers disregard geographic influences on human phenomena except. So 3 are reasons. 1 is not a reason. Okay, if this is confusing, write it down in a notepad in the exam as well. And you're looking for the one that is not a reason why non-geographers disregard geographic influences on human phenomena. Now, if you've understood the main idea, something would be very clear in your head that clearly a major part of the main idea that Nikhil pointed out is that the non-geographers do disregard geographic influences on human phenomena. Okay, like saying that, oh, this is geographic determinism, or they disregard it. Okay, the non-geographers, the scholars, as they are mentioned in the passage, they disregard geographic influences on human phenomena because they believe in non-geographic factors. There are broadly 2 factors, right? According to the passage, geographic and non-geographic. These scholars, these non-geographers, believe in non-geographic influences. They don't believe in geographic influences. And there are 3 broad reasons as to why they disregard geographic influences. And those 3 reasons are structurally laid out in the RC. Let's look at that. Let's go back. Okay. What are those 3 reasons? Okay, let's see. So this is where it starts. Several reasons may underlie this widespread but nonsensical view. One reason is that some geographic explanations advanced a century ago were racist, thereby causing all geographic explanations to become tainted by racist associations in the minds of many scholars other than geographers. This is one reason as to why non-geographers disregard geographic influences. What is the reason? They think they're all racist. Why? Because some geographic explanations advanced a century ago were racist. So now they think that all geographic explanations are racist. That's very bad reasoning, right? But that is the reasoning that they have, right? They claim that all geographic explanations are racist. That's why we're going to disregard it. So that is one reason. Okay. Another reason for reflex rejection of geographic explanations is that historians have a tradition in their discipline of stressing the role of contingency, a favorite word among historians, based on individual decisions and chance. Okay, so they focus a lot on the importance of individual decisions and chance. Okay, that is what they're calling contingency. Another reason why historians or scholars disregard geographic influences, because they believe they focus a lot on individual decisions and chance rather than geography. So that is the second reason. Okay, reason number 2, reason number 1. Let's go to the third reason. A third reason is that geographic explanations usually depend on detailed technical facts of geography and other fields of scholarship. Most historians and economists don't acquire that detailed knowledge as part of their professional training. So lack of knowledge of geography, jargon, or technical aspects of geography. These are 3 reasons. I'm just going to quickly summarize. One, they think they are racist. All geographic explanations are racist. Second, they focus a lot on individual, so hence they disregard geographic influences. Third, they just don't have that knowledge of technical facts of geography. These are the three reasons. There are three options that point out these three reasons. One option doesn't point out that reason. We have to look for that one. Let's go back. Okay. Number one, dismissal of explanations that involve geographical causes for human behavior. Okay, now think about it. We just discussed the three reasons. Among the three reasons, is this one of the reasons in the RC? Is the author saying that these scholars disregard geographic influences because they simply dismiss the explanation? Think about it. That's not really a reason also. Like, think about it. Is that a reason? Is the author saying they're just simply dismissing all the explanations for no rhyme or reason? Think about that for a minute. It's a very attractive option. It's a very attractive. Kudos to the question setter. It looks very attractive, but think about it. Can this be a reason? Dismissal of applications that involve geographical causes for human behavior. Are they simply dismissing it? These are scholars. Why will they simply dismiss it? Okay, that's a different story. But this is not one of the reasons pointed out in the passage, right? So let's park it. Okay, let's see the three reasons. Keep that in mind. Belief in the central role of humans. Unrelated to physical surroundings and influencing phenomena. This is number two. Individual. Focus on individual choice. Contingency. That's the reason. So this is there. This is not an answer. Lingering impressions of past geographic analysis that were politically offensive. Racism. This is not a reason. Disciplinary training, which typically does not include technical knowledge of geography. This is the third reason. All these three reasons are pointed out. This is not the reason. Hence, the answer is 1. Now, understand how question setters trick you. That was a very attractive option, but that's not really a reason. And that's not one of the three reasons that was pointed out in the RC. So had you focused on the structure, had you clearly laid out the three reasons in your main idea, then you would have gotten this question correct. So that's why I was saying very important to extract the main idea and keep the structure in the back and go back and check. It's a myth when people say that you can't go back to specific portions of the passage while solving questions. We don't go back and reread the whole RC, but definitely go back to specific portions. CAT questions are tricky. We're not in school. RCs in school used to be a joy. Here, it doesn't work like that. You have to go back to specific portions. Okay, give me a thumbs up if this is clear. We'll go to question 3. If there is a question about this, I'm happy to discuss this at the end. Okay, just in the interest of time, but give me a thumbs up. I'm a faculty that thrives on interaction. I need to know if we are on the same page. My students know about this irritating habit of mine. So give me a thumbs up. If it's clear, let's go to question 3. Okay. Okay, thanks for the confirmation. Some of you have pointed it out. I'm running the poll for the next one. In the meantime, we will pick up speed. Okay. Go for it. The poll is also screen. Take your time, people. Focus on accuracy. Please go back and check. Please go back and check. Look for evidence. Don't rely on your memory. They will trick you. And read each and every word carefully. Go for it, people. Oh, Tanmay, good to see you here. All right, people, I'll give you 30 more seconds. Okay, last 10 seconds, people. I'll end the poll now. All right, definitely keep voting. Okay, it's okay. Make a mistake in the session, no problem. If you make a mistake, you'll learn from it. So fantastic. So go and vote. Definitely do your due diligence. Sorry, I'm on mute. I'm not on mute, right? Am I? No, I'm not on mute. Okay, sorry. I just sometimes just get confused. In the past sessions that has happened, I mute myself and then I'm talking and then I don't realize. Okay. Anyway, let's discuss. So what I was saying is definitely attempt questions. Do your due diligence. Don't hesitate to vote, right? And if you make a mistake, just learn from it. All right. Okay. Let's look at this. So it says the examples of the Inuit and Aboriginal Australians are offered in the passage to show. Now, this is a classic why question. Why did the author say this? Why did the author say this? What is the purpose of the author saying this? Okay, now these why questions are usually tricky, all right, because what it requires is, it really requires you to get into the author's head to understand why did the author say that, right? So remember, these questions are usually tricky. This doesn't mean that you should just skip this question. No, okay, I'm just saying these questions are tricky. So definitely be a little extra careful when you're answering these questions, okay? All right. So the examples of the Inuit and Aboriginal Australians are offered in the passage to show. Now, one concept that I'll teach you right now is what we call a shadow answer. Okay. Wherever possible, create a shadow answer. What does that mean? You read the question. Before looking at the options, you try to guess the answer in your head based on what is given in the RC. You create some sort of answer in your head, some shadow answer, and then you start looking at the options. So then in that case, what happens is, because you have some idea beforehand, the options don't confuse you as much. The shadow answer might not be there in the options. That doesn't matter. But because you've taken the effort to go back, check the relevant portion in the RC, create a shadow answer, the options won't confuse you as much. Okay, so read the question without looking at the options, try and create the shadow answer wherever possible. That's what we'll do with this question. Examples of the Inuit and Aboriginal Australians are offered in the passage to show. So let's go back to that paragraph where the author talks about this. Okay, it's here in the second paragraph. I'm going to erase this. All right, where does it say that? Equatorial lowland, is it here? Should be here, right? Yes, here. Okay, there you go. So it's here. Okay, we'll read this paragraph. So the first is North Korea, South Korea. That part is not relevant to this. At the at the opposite. Actually, let's read the whole paragraph. There is context there. Okay. The differences between the current economies of North and South Korea cannot be attributed to the modest environmental differences between them. They're instead due to entirely to the different government policies. So it says the difference between North and South Korea is not because of geographical factors, it's because of government policies. That's what it's saying. Okay. At the opposite extreme, the Inuit and other traditional people living north of the Arctic Circle developed warm fur clothes but no agriculture, while equatorial lowland peoples around the world never developed warm fur clothes but often did develop agriculture. So the Inuit example, why has it been given to you? Think about it. And this is connected to the main idea. The main idea says that human phenomenon is dependent on two factors, geographical and non-geographical. Okay. First, the authors talks about North and South Korea, says this is not geographical, this is due to government policies. Then it gives you at the opposite extreme, the Inuit developed warm fur clothes but no agriculture. Why did the Inuit develop warm fur clothes? What was the reason? Was it geographical or non-geographical? Tell me, think about it. Why did the Inuit develop warm fur clothes? Was it geographical or non-geographical reason? I'll wait for answer on chat. Okay, and then continue. The explanation is straightforwardly geographic. It's written there, rather than a cultural or historical quirk unrelated to geography. Aboriginal Australia remained the sole continent. This is also geographical. Both the Inuit and Aboriginal Australia examples are connected to geographical. So the reason why the author is bringing them up is to tell you that human phenomena can be dependent on geographical factors. That is the reason why the author is bringing it up. It's connected to the previous paragraph and it's connected to the main idea as well. So now let's go back and explore the options. This is our shadow answer. Okay. All right. Number one, how environmental factors lead to comparatively divergent paths in livelihoods and development. Is that why the author is bringing it up? Think about it. This was the first choice, by the way. Think about this. Is the author talking about Inuit and Aboriginal Australians to talk about completely different paths in livelihoods and development? Is that the focus of the author? Or the Inuit did this and the Aboriginal Australians did this, and this is completely divergent paths. Is the focus on that? Is the focus on the fact that they're leading or they're on completely divergent paths? No, that's not the author's focus. Think about it. Okay, we'll park that. Okay, number two. Did the authors give you this example to show human resourcefulness across cultures and adapted to the surroundings? Is this the author's focus? To tell you that humans are very resourceful in adapting to their surroundings. Look at what the Inuit did. They created warm fur clothes to adapt to their surroundings. No, why would the author talk about that? The author is focused on geographical versus non-geographical factors. Number three, how physical circumstances can dictate human behavior and cultures. What are physical circumstances? Geographical factors. And this is the author's main idea. The author talks about North Korea, South Korea to say there are non-geographical factors. Then the author brings in Inuit and Aboriginal Australians to talk about geographical factors, which is physical circumstances. Let's park this. Okay, that despite geographical isolation, traditional societies were self-sufficient and adaptive. This is not the author's point at all. The author's point is to talk about geographical factors influencing human phenomenon. And that's the reason the author brings up Inuit and Aboriginal Australians. And hence, the answer is 3. Okay, you see how this is tricky? This was the third choice, right? But I hope you understand what is happening here. These why questions are tricky. But had you kept the main idea in mind and had you sort of kept the broad discussion in mind, you would have gotten it. You have to ask yourself, why did the author bring up Inuit and Aboriginal Australians? And why did the author bring up after North Korea and South Korea, saying it's extremely opposite, non-geographical, geographical? That was the reason. I hope this is clear. Okay, give me a thumbs up if this is clear, but learn from it. These questions are tricky. Let's go to the fourth one. If you have a question, put it there. I'll handle it at the end. Let's go to the next one. And give me a thumbs up, please, if this is clear. Right. Again, a tricky question, people. Take your time. Evaluate the options carefully. And this is a good time to ask you to like the stream. I always forget to ask that. Just like on YouTube, that just helps us, spread the video, right? It kind of like the visibility on YouTube increases. So if you're enjoying the session, if you're finding it useful, please like the stream. And definitely join us every Friday. It's not over yet. We're just halfway through. But we're going to do this every Friday at 8 p.m. Okay. solve this. This one is tricky again. Take your time with this. Thanks, Tanmay. I appreciate it. Is it like an assumption? In this question, I wouldn't say it's an assumption. I wouldn't say it's an assumption. But what the question is asking you, and of course we'll discuss it, is right, like the author's definitely criticizing scholars, right? So why is the author criticizing them? I don't think we are talking about an author's assumption here. Okay, so no, I wouldn't say it's similar to an assumption question. No. All right, people, I'll give you, it's a tricky question, definitely. I think it's probably the trickiest one out of the four. That's what I feel. You'll tell me later. But yeah, I'll give you 30 more seconds and then we'll start discussing. We want to discuss one more passage. So yeah. All right, last 10 seconds, people. Okay, I'll end the poll now. They're definitely very tricky, Nikhil. I agree with you. So look at the way you voted. Option 3 is your first choice. Okay, followed by 1. All right, followed by 2, and then followed by 4. All right, so you have it on your screen. Okay, now what does it say? The author criticizes scholars who are not geographers for all of the following reasons except. Okay, so the author does criticize these scholars, right? And who are these scholars that we're talking about? Non-geographers. And what are these scholars doing? They're rejecting geography's influence on human phenomena, right? That's what they're doing. So, you know, the question is asking you, why is the author criticizing these scholars who are not geographers? right? And it says for all of the following reasons, except, again, it's an except question. So 3 are reasons for the author criticizing scholars. 1 is not a reason. We have to point out that 1 which is not a reason. Okay. All right. Let's look at this. Their rejection of the role of biogeographic factors in social and cultural phenomena. Okay. Now, think about it. Are these scholars rejecting the role of biogeographic factors in social and cultural phenomena? Yes or no? These scholars who are not geographers, are they rejecting the role of biogeographic factors? Yes or no? They are, right? They're definitely rejecting them. Okay. I mean, that's their stance, that geography doesn't play a role in human phenomena. Is the author happy with that? Is the author happy about the fact that they are rejecting this? No, the author is not happy about it. And I'll give you evidence. See, it says, today no scholar would be silly enough to deny that culture, history, and individual choices play a big role. Scholars don't react to cultural, historical, and individual agent explanations by denouncing blah, blah, blah. But many scholars do react to any explanation invoking some geographic role by denouncing geographic determinism. Several reasons may underlie this widespread but nonsensical view. The author is very against these scholars, these non-geographers who are just outright rejecting geography's influence on human phenomena. Okay, and the author also says that nobody would reject cultural, historical, and individual agent explanations by denouncing it as cultural determinism. So then why are they calling geography as geographic determinism? Determined by geography, the simplistic explanation of that. Determinism is a philosophy branch. You should read up the definition. But here it's like determined by geography. They're saying, no, it's not determined by geography. Okay? Simplistic explanation. So the author's not happy about it. So the first option says, their rejection of the role of biogeographic factors in social and cultural phenomena. Is the author criticizing because the scholars because of that? Yes. One of the reasons, the main reason the author is criticizing these scholars is because they are rejecting the role of biogeographic factors. Think about it. Okay? The author's main problem is that these people are rejecting outright the role of biogeographic factors. So this is one of the reasons why the author is criticizing, or this is the main reason. So this can't be an answer. Okay? Their outdated interpretations of past cultural and historical phenomena. Now, this is very interesting. Is the author saying that their interpretations are outdated? Think about it. Give me evidence. Is the author saying their interpretations are outdated? Now, most likely, you'll go back to the racism part. Okay? And you'll say that it says, one reason is that some geographic explanations advanced a century ago were racist, thereby causing all geographic explanations to become tainted by racist associations. Okay? But many genetic, historical, psychological, and anthropological explanations advanced a century ago were also racist. Yet the validity of newer non-racist genetic explanations is widely accepted today. Now understand this a little bit. Think about this. The author is not saying that their interpretations are outdated. The author's problem is generalization. That is the author's issue. Some geographic explanations advanced a century ago were racist. Therefore, they think that all geographic explanations are racist. So the author has this problem with this blatant generalization. And that's what the author says, that generic, historical, psychological, and anthropological explanations were also racist. So why aren't they adopting the same stance there? These are double standards. So the author is not saying that interpretation is outdated. The author's problem is generalizations or prejudice, as Nikhil is pointing out. Think about this. It's quite tricky because here advanced a century ago makes it seem like outdated. But no, that's not the author's issue. The author's issue is the generalization that they're going with. Okay, think about it. It will probably take some time to sort of process. So let's park this. Their labeling of geographic explanations as deterministic. Yes, the author clearly says that. We read that point just now. The author has a problem with that. Why are they calling it geographical determinism? The importance they place on the role of individual decisions when studying human phenomena. This is also the author's problem. The author says one of the reasons they do this is because they over-index on individual decisions and chance, stressing the role of contingency. Often that view is warranted, but often to that view is unwarranted. So they focus a lot on individual, and the author is criticizing them for that as well, the undue focus on individual. So this is not the reason. The answer is actually two. Okay, it's very tricky. Out of all the four questions, I believe fourth question was the trickiest. Okay, and ideally this question should have been left in the exam. Okay, like, you have to evaluate your risk level, right? If you're like really confused, then you shouldn't. This is not a question that you should have taken a risk with in the exam. But this question is the trickiest out of them. All right. Okay. All right. Great. If you have any questions, let me know. Let's pick up some speed. We'll do the second passage as well. Just maintain your energy. Now I'll give you some time to read the second passage. Please open the document. My team. Oh, yes, my main idea. Sorry. Thank you, Lokesh. Okay, here's my main idea, people. And I'm happy to read this passage at the end if you want. I'm more than happy to read the passage and explain it to you. Okay. All right. The main idea, I will divide it into two parts. All right. The first thing is the first paragraph, right? Where it says human phenomena and characteristics are influenced both by geographic and non-geographic factors. This is part one of the main idea. That there are two factors for human phenomena and characteristics, geographic and non-geographic. And then the author explains geographic and non-geographic both. So that's the first part of the main idea. The two factors. I'll just write it down quickly. Okay. And then the second part of the main idea is the author's criticism about these scholars who reject the geographical view. Okay. So the author is clearly telling you that there are scholars who are non-geographers who outright disregard the role of geography or who outright disregard the geographic factors. They rely completely on non-geographic factors. And then the author talks about three reasons as to why these scholars, these non-geographers do that. So that is the second part of the main idea. So I would say first is the two factors, which is geo and non-geo. And the second part of the main idea is the three reasons that the author gives for rejection. I'm not writing the whole thing, but the non-geographers, they reject geography's influence completely. There are three reasons for it. Those three reasons also form a part of the main idea. So that's your main idea. Starting with two factors, criticism based on three reasons, A, B, C. So there's racism. There is second is focus on individual. Third is the lack of technical geographic expertise in their training. That summarizes your main idea. Okay, I hope this is clear. The remaining questions, I'll handle it later. Lokesh, I hope this answers your question and thanks for reminding me. Stay back after the session. I'm more than happy to talk about the passage in detail. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. Okay. Before that, there is an All India mock CAT that we're doing. The details will be sent on chat. So if you're a 2IM student, you don't have to register if mocks are a part of your course. If you're a non-2IM student, please register. It's $49 only. It's a high quality mock designed by senior faculties. 3 days, 6th, 7th, and 8th. You'll get an All India percentile and text and video solutions for every question. Okay, great. So this is it. Let's go to the next one. Open the document in the description. The passage is about ocean world. I'll give you 5 minutes to read it, and then we'll go to the questions. I will do it quickly this time. Okay, go for it, people. Give me a thumbs up when you're done. Best would be to give me the main idea in your own words. All right, I'm getting a few thumbs ups. Let me know if you folks are ready to start discussing. Okay, next time, of course, if when you're attending the session, please pre-read so that we can just focus on the passage discussion, question discussion. But yeah, give me a thumbs up. Would love to see a couple of main ideas. If possible, really help you to build that skill. Send me a couple of main ideas. We'll start the discussion very soon. Okay. And as I said, whoever wants, even if it's one person who says that I want to discuss the passage later, I'm happy to stay back and discuss the passage. That's my favorite part of RCs, to discuss the passage. But just in the interest of time, I can't do it upfront. But stay back and I'm happy to discuss it with you. Should we start discussing the questions? Give me a few thumbs ups and then I can start. Or you need more time? I have a thumbs up from Abbas and Sanket. Very good. Ayush, thank you. Main idea: unlike early post-colonial novels, which focused more on nationalism, the author introduces globalization in his or her new book using Indian Ocean as connection between different cultures. Yes, very much on the right track. Okay, there are there's some elements missing, Ayush, and I'll give you my version of the main idea as well. But you're definitely on the right track. I like the way you started by saying unlike early post-colonial novels, right? Because there is a difference, clear sort of distinction that the author makes, right? I think where your main idea could have been stronger is the second part of what the second alternative approach is, right? But you're definitely on the right track. A new novel era. Sanket, that's a title. Okay, so you'll have to elaborate more. Next time, 2 to 3 sentences for main idea. And but this is the title, not a main idea. Okay, let's start discussing, people. So again, we won't discuss the main idea first. We'll discuss the questions and then I'll come back to the main idea. And as I said, I'm happy to discuss the passage at the end. This passage is quite interesting. Did you find it easier than the first passage or more difficult? Just in terms of the passage content, not the questions. Easier to understand than the first one? Okay, the author focuses on how Western novels are Western culture centric, whereas the author's novel, which is a collection of novels focusing on Indian, which do not get light from the West. Serene Sea Monster, definitely on the right track. Author speaks a lot about the Indian Ocean nations and correlates it with the literature, and centered more about African nations, how trade was mechanized better as a global south. Okay, on the right track. Okay, could have been better, Ajit. I'll discuss my minute and then you can get pointers. Okay, let's go to question 1. There you go. People, read the question carefully, answer it. I'll give you like 2.5 minutes and then we'll start discussing it. Okay. Please go back to the passage, specific portions, check and answer. Now you know how to answer the question, so go for it. Okay, I'm seeing familiar names now. Suraj, Vanamali, good to see you. Good to see you here. I'm sure there are a lot of other students of mine here as well. Sorry if I'm on YouTube, you're not able to sometimes connect, right? Because of the usernames, but yeah, definitely some familiar names. This is always good to see. Okay, we will go a little faster with this one. Okay, so start voting. I'll give you 30 more seconds. Yeah, definitely, Nikhil. More than happy to discuss that. That's, as I said, that's my favorite topic to discuss. So I will we'll discuss it in detail. Okay, we'll finish the questions and then we'll discuss it. Okay, people, take 10 more seconds. Please vote, everyone. Very few votes on this question. So take 10 more seconds and then let's start discussing. Okay, I will close the poll now. Great. Okay. All right. So there is a majority here, as in more than half, right? More than half of you are saying that 3 is the right answer. 54% has gone with 3. Okay. Then 16 with 2 and 4. Okay. And 12% with 1. Okay. Let's look at this. As opposed to the questions that we have done so far today, I think this is, relatively speaking, this is manageable. Relatively. Okay. It's still a tricky question. But relatively speaking, as compared to the earlier questions, the earlier 4 that we did with the previous RC, this is a little more manageable. Okay. All right. Let's look at it. All of the following claims contribute to the remapping discussed by the passage except. I will not explain except now. I've already discussed that. All of the following claims contribute to the remapping discussed by the passage except. So we have to point out the option that doesn't contribute to remapping as discussed in the passage. Now, the first question is, what is remapping per the passage? Okay, there is no hyphen. So what is remapping per the passage? What are we remapping? Per the passage, what is being remapped? Okay, let's go back. So we're trying to build a shadow answer here. What is being remapped? Think about it. Now, that's like the part of the main idea, right? It says, this has the effect of remapping the world in the reader's mind as centered in the interconnected global south. So the whole world is being remapped. And what is contributing to this remapping mainly? Okay, this whole literature, okay, these set of novels in which Indian Ocean is at the center of the story. All right. So these set of novels in which Indian Ocean is at the center of the story, all these novels are mainly contributing to remapping the world. So how was the world earlier? There is a clear distinction drawn there, right? It says for early post-colonial literature, okay, that's different. Earlier, before we had these set of novels in which the Indian Ocean is at the center of the story, okay, the world was centered around, okay, and that point is somewhere here, okay. Right, look at this. Before we had these novels, which had Indian Ocean as its focus, the world was centered in Europe or the US. But when these novels came in, which focused on the Indian Ocean, the world got remapped and the focus shifted from the north to the south. Isn't it? As centered in the interconnected global south. So earlier the focus was all about, it was that the world, US and Europe was the be all and end all of the world. Typical white man mentality, right? But then these novels came along and they changed the narrative and they remapped the world in the reader's mind as centered in the interconnected global south as opposed to the north. That's the shadow answer that we've built. Now, let's go back. So that now we've understood what has remapped. But now we're saying what are the reasons contributing to it and which option is not the reason. Okay, 1. The global south as opposed to the global north was the first center of globalization. Does the RC say this? Do we have evidence that globalization began from the global south as opposed to the global north? Yes, definitely there is evidence here. Okay, where it talks about, it'll take me a while. You can help me, globalization, somewhere here. Oh, yeah, there you go. Historical and archaeological evidence suggests that we now call globalization first appeared in the Indian Ocean. So it changed the narrative. Globalization started in the south. That definitely helped with remapping. This is one of the reasons. This is not our answer. The world of early international trade and commerce was not the sole domain of white Europeans. Yes, Darcy talks about that. Okay, it talks about how there was a lot of trade on this in the south, right? Let's look at it. This remapping is particularly powerful. Blah blah blah. African as well as Indian characters are traders, runaways, villains, missionaries, and activists. And also it talks about long-lasting connections between the different coasts, right? So there's a lot of trade that happened in the south as well. So international trade and commerce was not the sole domain of white Europeans, because a lot of it happened in the south as well, and that definitely contributed to remapping. So this is not an answer. Cosmopolitanism originated in the West and traveled to the East through globalization. Does the passage say that? Does the passage say cosmopolitanism originated in the West? It doesn't say that. Okay. The only part where it talks about cosmopolitanism, somewhere here, yeah, it says it's a densely imagined, richly sensory image of a southern cosmopolitan culture. That's it. That's the only reference to cosmopolitanism. It doesn't say cosmopolitanism originated in the West and traveled to the East. The focus is on the South. The focus is on the East. The focus is not on the West. Right? So the passage is not saying that. The passage is not saying cosmopolitanism originated in the West. It talks about cosmopolitanism, but it talks about cosmopolitanism in the South. There is no part of originating in the West. This is the answer actually, because we're looking for accept. Okay, let's park it. Indian Ocean novels have gone beyond the specific of national concerns to explore rich regional paths. Yes. Isn't this contributing to the remapping? First, it was all about national concerns. These Indian Ocean novels were outward looking. Okay, and the Indian Ocean novels are the main reason why this remapping happened. So this is definitely contributing to the remapping. The focus shifted from nationalism to the South and the rich regional paths. Okay, so this is not the answer. The answer is 3. Okay, so yeah, I hope this is clear. Still a tricky question, but as I said, more manageable than the ones that we discussed before. Okay, let's go to the next one. If you have a question, put it. I'll handle it at the end. Okay, let's do this quickly. Oh, hi, Prateek. Good to see you here. Prateek is our former student from CAT 23. It's always lovely when this 2M alumni drops into the sessions. Good to see you, Prateek. Okay, people, just in the interest of time, we'll go a little faster. Okay, so yeah, please start voting. I'll give you another 30-40 seconds. Question different from the passage. Ajit, what does that mean? I'm not sure what you mean by that. You're saying it's not mentioned in the passage at all? This particular uh, migration in the Indian Ocean world? Okay, people, I'm going to end the poll in 10 seconds. All right, let's end the poll. Okay. All right. So you can see how you voted. 38% are going with 2. Okay, sorry, I'm on the wrong screen. Oh. Okay, 38% are going with 2. All right. 23% is going with 3. All right. 98% is going with 1, and then 19% is going with 4. Okay. All right. Now I want to ask a question quickly, and if you can just answer it. People who chose 3, why did you choose this? Can you explain? 3 says the Indian Ocean world's migration networks connected the global north with the global south. Okay. And the question is, which one of the following statements is not true about migration in the Indian Ocean world? I hope you read not there. Be careful, no, and don't depend on words being capitalized. Till now, we've had except capitalized. Tomorrow, Surfera question setter will come and not give you except in capitalized. I do this with my students all the time. I deliberately will not give them except in capitalized. Don't get used to it. Read each and every word, whether it's capitalized or not capitalized. Not true about migration. Okay, nothing mentioned related to north. Okay, Sanket says that. All right, okay, we'll see that. Which one of the following statements is not true about migration in the Indian Ocean world? Definitely the RC talks about migration. Okay, Nikhil is saying passage speaks about south-south connection. Sir, you showed passage 1 question here. No, Ajit, this is still the question for passage 2. I don't know where the confusion is. We're discussing ocean world. This is question for the ocean world passage. Okay. All right. Passage speaks about south-south connection. Very interesting. Let's go back. Okay. Where does it say that? Okay. So Nikhil is saying it's talking about south-south connection. Let's look at that. Okay. Let's look at this. See, I'm going to read this paragraph. It says, my new book, Writing Ocean Worlds, explores another kind of world of the novel. Not the village or nation, but the Indian Ocean world. The book describes a set of novels in which the Indian Ocean is at the center of the story. There's several novels with Indian Ocean at the center of the story. It focuses on the novelists Amitav Ghosh, Abdul Razak Gurnah, Lindsay Collin, and Joseph Conrad, who have centered the Indian Ocean world in the majority of their novels. Their work reveals a world that is outward looking, full of movement, border crossing, and south-south interconnection. Honestly, when I read this for the first time, I thought this was a typo. Okay, I don't know if you felt like that, but I thought it was a typo. But no, we don't have typos in CAT passages, right? What do they mean by south-south interconnection? That doesn't even make sense. Their work reveals a world that is all about south-south interconnection. What is it talking about? Think about it. This can't be north-south interconnection, right? Because the whole focus is on the south. The whole focus of these novels is on Indian Ocean and is on the south. And that's why the whole remapping is happening. So there is no north-south connection. But then what does south-south connection mean? Intra-connection. South is also huge, right? So it is connecting different regions of the south. That's why the author is calling it south-south interconnection. Actually, it's intra-connection within South. The Indian Ocean, and think about it, countries around the Indian Ocean. Very good, Bharat. The Indian Ocean world is a term used to describe the very long-lasting connections among the coasts of East Africa, Arab coast, South and East Asia, all a part of South. Broad definition of South. So that is what the author means by South-South connection, countries within the South. There is no North-South connection. It can't be. The focus is on the South. Okay, think about it. So let's go back. Which one of the following statements is not true about migration in the Indian Ocean world? The Indian Ocean world's migration networks connected the global north with the global south. This is not true. This is the answer. But let's look at the other options. Geographical location rather than geographical proximity determine the choice of destination for migrants. There is evidence for this. The connections were so good. There is a point which says the sea connections were better than the land. I hope you read that. You're getting a trigger there? Let's see, where is it? Yeah. For much of history, travel by sea was much easier than by land, which meant that port cities very far apart were often more easily connected to each other than to much closer inland cities. The connections were so good via the sea. So why, if the connections are so good, why will they focus on proximity? They're not worried about proximity. They're not worried about whether this is close to me or not. Okay, migrants will just look at a geographical location because they have connections. When in the south, if they want to go from point A to point B, they don't worry about the distance because they were so well connected. They look at the location, say, I want to go there, irrespective of the distance. So this is true. The Indian Ocean world's migration networks were shaped by religion and commercial histories of the region. There is a part that talks about it, right? Look at this. African as well as Indian and Arab characters, traders, that's commercial. Nakhodas, runaways, villains, missionaries, that's religion. That is the evidence for that. Okay. Okay. Migration in the Indian Ocean world was an ambivalent experience. What does ambivalent mean? Ambivalent means it was sometimes good, sometimes bad, uncertain. That's what ambivalent means. And migration was uncertain. It was not always positive for them, right? It also talks about how it was often a matter of force, right? And also it talks about how somewhere it says about migration being like tough for them and stuff. It's not romanticized and everything. So it was an ambivalent. It was uncertain. It was unpredictable, right? It was not always positive. So that also can be inferred. So this is not true. Okay. There's no north-south connection. Okay. Fantastic. Let's go to the question 3. Let's do this. This is an interesting question. This is the first time they gave a question like this in RC, and a lot of people were, I was in this slot, by the way. A lot of people were kind of thrown aback. I was also like, whoa, this doesn't look like an RC question. But it's not a very difficult question. It's a new type of question, but it's not very difficult. Try it out. Skeptical about 2 or 3, but the passage says sailors, not all Europeans, is inclined towards the thought that north-south are connected probably. No, Serene Sea Monster, think about it. Okay, people, you can solve 3 and I'll talk about this. See, it can't be north-south, right? Think about it. The remapping has been done to focus on the south, and the attention was taken away from the north and focused on the south. Right? And then the connections that they're talking about, they are all talking about the south being interconnected to each other. The migration happening between the south. There is no north-south connection. The Indian Ocean world novels don't even focus on the north. The complete focus is on the south. Right? So it says the sailors, not all Europeans. Okay, I'll look at that line. I'll go back and look at it at the end. You're giving me a specific line, which is good. I'll look at that line, but I'm saying broadly, if you think about it, it can't be true. But I'll look at that line and we'll look at it again. Okay. Please stay back and definitely happy to discuss that. Okay, I'm glad it's clear. But still, if you want to discuss, more than happy to talk about it. Okay, people, I'll give you 30 more seconds. I just realized the timing went a little off today. So 8 to 10 was this session, but I think my students, I think, have a class, another class which started at 9, I think. I'm not sure. If that has happened, I apologize. The timing went off. We'll adjust it next Friday. Okay, people, I'm ending the poll now. I know my question is subjective. Yeah, Zetrox. Zetrox, that's an interesting question. I can handle it at the end. Okay, just stay back. More than happy to talk about it. Okay. 65% of you are saying this is the correct answer. This is your first choice. Then this is your second choice. Then this is your third choice. This is your fourth choice. Okay. On the basis of the nature of the relationship between the items in each pair below, choose the odd pair out. So you have to choose the odd one out based on the relationship. Okay, so there's some commonality between 3 options. One option is the odd one out based on the relationship. So let's look at it. Post-colonial. So at the first glance, you realize that there's post-colonial novels, Indian Ocean world, Indian Ocean novels. So there's some sort of pattern there. Okay. Post-colonial novels, border crossing. Post-colonial novels, anti-colonial nationalism. Indian Ocean world, slavery. Indian Ocean novels, outward looking. Okay, I'm going to look at the most obvious ones. Let's try to figure this out by elimination. Were post-colonial novels about anti-colonial nationalism? Yes or no? Were post-colonial novels largely about anti-colonial nationalism? Yes or no? They were. Okay, great. That's an obvious one. Relatively obvious. Okay, so post-colonial novels were about anti-colonial nationalism. Did Indian Ocean novels have an outward-looking perspective? Did they have an outward-looking perspective, Indian Ocean novels? They moved, they were outward-looking, right? Because earlier it was inward-looking. They were purposely outward-looking. So there's some sort of pattern here. Post-colonial novels have anti-colonial nationalism. Indian Ocean novels are outward-looking. It's a positive relationship. Okay, let's continue with this thread. Are post-colonial novels about border crossing? Are post-colonial novels about border crossing? No. Okay, I'm just trying to see where that border crossing point is. There was border crossing mentioned somewhere here, no? Hold on. That was the Indian Ocean novels. I'm just trying to. Yeah. Okay. Their work reveals a world that is outward looking, full of movement, border crossing. So Indian Ocean novels, Indian Ocean world novels were about border crossing. Post-colonial novels were not about border crossing. They were inward looking. How can they be about border crossing? Border crossing is outward looking. Post-colonial novels was not about border crossing. This is tick tick. Okay. Was Indian Ocean world, did it have a slavery element? This is where it gets tricky. Does Indian Ocean world, does it have a slavery element? I'll just stop here. Tell me. Nikhil, point it out. Where is it? On the screen, point it out. Where is the slavery element mentioned? Rife with it. Okay. So, okay, there you go. Travel is portrayed as an abandonment rather than adventure. Freedoms are kept from women and slavery is rife. And this is about Africa, which is a part of Indian Ocean world. There is an element of slavery there. Not completely, but there is an element connected to Africa, which is a part of Indian Ocean world. In that context, it has been mentioned. Okay. So this has a slavery element. Indian Ocean novels have an outward-looking element. Post-colonial novels have an anti-colonial nationalism element. Tick, tick, tick. Post-colonial novels don't have a border crossing element. Hence, this is the odd one out. This is your answer. It is tricky. It is tricky. But because the question is new, the question type is new. That's why people type it. But actually, if you look at it, and once you get used to the question type, you'll get it. So CAT is known to throw these new question types. One or two new question types they will throw. Okay, for sure. If they throw a new question type and you're completely clueless, don't take a risk. Leave that question. Okay, and one tip that I'll give you right away. Just because you've read an RC doesn't mean you solve all the 4 questions. Okay, that's like sunk cost fallacy. You're like, oh, I've spent 6 minutes on reading the RC. I have to solve all the 4 questions because I have to do justice to the 6-7 minutes I spent on the RC. That's a horrible strategy. Typically, one question will always be tricky. Be okay with leaving RC questions. Be okay with solving 3 questions. Sometimes be okay with solving 2 questions. It's okay. Focus on accuracy. That's more important. Okay. All right. Let's do question 4. This is a critical reasoning question. Do this. It's definitely tricky because it's CR, but we'll quickly cover it. Yeah, Suraj, you're right. You're right. Definitely time consuming. It is time. You're right. It is time consuming. Also, the fact that it's a new type of question. So yeah, I take it back. I don't think it's an easy question. It's definitely tricky. I remember leaving this question in the exam. Okay, I was like, nope, I'm not doing this because it was taking time. You're right. You're right. Yeah. Okay. It's a critical reason question. It would be unfair to, to sort of compromise on time here. I'll give you some more time. Okay, comfortably answer it. It's the trickiest question in this RC. Okay, not just because it's a critical reasoning question. It is tricky. CR questions tend to be tricky. Okay, and I would say this is a tricky question. So take your time with this. But yeah, you'll have to develop expertise in CR questions. Uh, Typically in the exam, right? Out of 16 RC questions, it's common to see three, sometimes even 4 CR questions, right? 2 to 3 you will see. On an average, 2 to 3 is common. So yeah, definitely get expertise in CR questions. It requires practice. It requires understanding the strategy. And CR questions are not the kind of questions you should take a risk with. Okay, don't just leave a question because it's a CR question. That's not the right strategy. Okay, because a CR question can also be manageable if the options are easy. But a CR question is not a question that you take a risk with. So you should mark a CR question only if you're 90% sure of the answer. If you're not sure, then don't take a risk with a CR question. Most likely it will not pay off because they are tricky. Okay, all right. Give you a minute more and then we'll start discussing. Definitely like the stream if you found it useful. I'll end it, but I'm going to stay back. I'll discuss the passage if you want. And, once the questions are over, more than happy to stay back and discuss and answer all your questions. But we'll finish the questions first. Okay, people, I'm going to end the poll in 10 seconds. Done. Most of you have voted. I'll end the poll now. To always synchronize it with the video that I see on the screen. Okay, yeah, I'll end it now. Okay, great. This is tricky. You must have found it tricky. Okay, so Sanket has given the answer because he was not able to vote in the poll. Fair enough. Sanket have noted it. You must have found this tricky, right? This is tricky. So get used to CR questions. It's important. Yes, Nikhil, it is tricky. Trickiest question in this RC, one of the trickiest questions that we've discussed today. Don't beat yourself up if you had a tough time with this question, but definitely go back, learn CR strategies, practice questions. Okay, all right. Option 3 is your first choice. Option 2 is your second choice. Option 4 is also your second choice. In terms of percentage, it's the same. And then this is your last choice. Okay. All right, let's look at it. Okay, we'll break it down. The question stem is also long. I'm going to take a little bit of a time discussing this. All of the following statements, if true. Now, understand, whenever there is a if true in the question, you have to assume that the 4 options are true. Okay? Then you don't go looking for evidence, right? If it says if true, you assume the 4 options are true. Remember this. When it says if true, that means all the 4 options are to be considered as true. Don't try to look for evidence or stuff. Just assume that they are true. That's what if true means. Okay, number 1. Remember that. It's very common. It comes. If true, would weaken the passage's claim about the relationship between mainstream English language fiction and Indian Ocean novels, except. Terrible. They've given weaken, they've given an except also. Now let's break this down. Forget the except. Don't worry about the except. Look at without except first. Okay, it's complicated enough. Don't bring an except directly in. All of the following statements, if true, that means we're assuming it's true. So that is fine. Would weaken the passage's claim about the relationship between mainstream English language fiction and Indian Ocean novels. So first thing that you should do in your head is figure out what is the relationship between mainstream English language fiction novels. Oh, no, sorry. Mainstream English language fiction and Indian Ocean novels. First of all, let's figure this out. What is the relationship, people? You've read the RC, right? What is the relationship between mainstream English language fiction and Indian Ocean novels? What does the passage say about the relationship? Think about it. What is the relationship? Are Indian Ocean novels mainstream? Answer this question. Are Indian Ocean novels mainstream? Nikhil says different histories and geographies. Very good. Very good. You're right. Are Indian Ocean novels mainstream? Yes or no? Are they mainstream people? No, they're not mainstream. They're offbeat. They're offbeat. Mainstream English fiction is different than the RC. That's one side. And then you have Indian Ocean novels on the other side. Okay. Say, it says for early post-colonial literature, the world of the novel was often the nation. Post-colonial novels were usually concerned with national questions, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then on the other side, you have Indian Ocean novels. So let's go back. They were not mainstream Indian Ocean novels. They're on the other side. And as Nikhil pointed out, they're different histories and geographies. What did the Indian Ocean novels focus on? What region? What region did the Indian Ocean novels focus on? Come on, people. You know this. I know there's a lag, but I want you to answer this. What region? Very good. They focused on the south. What did the mainstream English language fiction novels focus on? What region? Mainstream English language fiction. What did they focus on? North. Okay. What race did the mainstream English language or West? What race did the mainstream English language fiction focus on? White. What race did the Indian Asian language fiction on? Colored. Okay, so they were quite different. They were poles apart. This is white dominated mainstream. This was north focused, Europe, US focused. Indian Asian novels was south focused. It remapped the world, colored races. That was the relationship. Okay, according to the passage's claim is this: that mainstream English language was white dominated, US, Europe dominated. Indian Ocean novels was south focused, colored focused, all of that. And that's pretty clear in this paragraph. For their part, Ghosh, blah, 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 reference a different set of histories and geographies than the ones most commonly found in fiction English. Those commonly found are mostly centered in Europe or the US, assume a background of Christianity and whiteness. The novels in my book highlight a largely Islamic space, features characters of color, centralize the ports of blah, blah, blah. This is the paragraph that you should be looking at. This explains the relationship. Now understand the question. Which option, all of the following statements, if true, would weaken the passage's claim? So we are looking, it's saying all of the options would weaken this claim. That means all of the options would give you contrary evidence that would weaken this claim. We've understood the claim now. All of the options are going to weaken this except one. That means 3 are going to weaken. 1 will not weaken. That is what that except is doing here. First, consider all 4 of them are going to weaken, but we have except 4 minus 1. 3 are going to weaken, 1 is not going to weaken. What weaken? This claim. So we have to look for options. 3 of them will give you contrary evidence. 1 will not give you contrary evidence, and we have to pick that option. Let's look at number 1, which was your 4th choice. Most mainstream English language novels have historically privileged the Christian white male experience of travel and adventure. Is this what the RC is saying? Is this aligned with what the RC is saying? Read the option and tell me. I'm not going to leave you to finish this discussion. It's a very interesting one. Is this what the RC is saying? First option, read it and tell me. Is this aligned with the RC? Most mainstream English novels have historically privileged the Christian white male experience of travel and adventure. This is what the RC is saying. Does this weaken the claim? If this is what the RC is, Bharat, think about it. Oh, she's answering yes to the previous question. If this is what the RC is saying, if 1 is what the RC is saying, how will it weaken the claim? It will not weaken. There you go. You have your answer. This is what the RC is saying. Does not weaken. Okay, very tricky because of the except. Okay, now let's go to 2. The depiction of Africa in most Indian Ocean novels is driven by the Orientalist imagination of its cultural crudeness. And remember, this is true. Depiction of Africa in most Indian Ocean novels is driven by an Orientalist imagination of its cultural crudeness. Orientalist imagination. Orientalist is connected to colonization. If this is true, it's going against the passage, right? Because we're saying that this is sort of the colonialist view. But that's not what the passage is saying. Indian Ocean novels are focusing on the South. It's not the colonialist view. It's the colored view. But if it's an Orientalist imagination, that means it's the colonizer's view, and that would weaken the claim. Not an answer. A very few mainstream English novels have historically been set in American and European metropolitan centers. If this is true, and you have to assume it, this goes against with what the passage is saying. The passage says mainstream English fiction focuses on white and North and Europe and US. This is saying very few mainstream English novels have historically been set there. This weakens. The depiction of Africa in most Indian Ocean novels is driven by post-colonial nostalgia for an idyllic past. Post-colonial nostalgia, again focusing on colonizers. This weakens. The only thing that doesn't weaken is this, because this is aligned with the passage. And because of except, we are looking for not weaken, and hence that's your answer. Okay, super tricky question. It's CR plus the except, all of that, but definitely learn from this and go back and strengthen your CR ability. And remember, don't take a risk with these questions. If you're not sure, leave this question in the exam. Okay, but of course, evaluate the question and then take a decision. All right, fantastic, people. I'm not going to end the session, but if you want to quit quickly, the All India mock is there. If you're a non-2IM student, you can register. My team will send the link. It will be there in the description as well. It will be live tomorrow at 8 a.m. It'll Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Very interesting questions. I've designed some of them, so I'm biased, but no, they're interesting. We'll give you video solutions for everything. We'll have an analysis, blah, 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 all the shebang, and it's 49. The reason why we're charging, last time we kept it free. And 49 is simply we're putting that because we want serious aspirants. All right, so go ahead and register. Okay, now I'll come back to the RC. The promotional break is done. Okay, Lokesh, yes, my main idea. Yes. Okay, people, if you want to quit now, you can quit the session. Come back Friday, 8 p.m. next Friday. We'll discuss the remaining 2 passages. Next time, read the passage and come so that we can do more interesting discussion and not spend time reading. Okay, let's discuss the main idea. Now, I'll discuss it in detail. Okay, so now I can just take my time and explain it to you. See, the main idea of the passage, by the way, tell me if you want me to discuss this. You want me to discuss this passage, not the whole thing, but just the approach? Yes or no? Just quickly tell me so that I know what to do with it. Then I can tell you the main idea also. Or do you want me to give you directly the main idea? Quickly. Yeah, Serene Sea Monster, I'll discuss it. I'll I'll come back to it. Do you want me to give you the main idea or discuss the passage? People, quickly. Main idea. Okay, great. Approach would be great. Okay, let's discuss the main idea first and then I'll give you the approach. Okay. See, the main idea here, I'll give you the approach also. Let me give you the main idea. The main idea here, okay. Okay, I'm confused. All right, let me give you the main idea first. See, it says the passage is clearly making a distinction between what is mainstream and then what is Indian Ocean world, right? So it starts by saying that for early post-colonial literature, the world of the novel was often the nation. This talks about mainstream. All right. So the mainstream view of post-colonial literature was nationalism was their focus. Okay. Anti-colonial nationalism was their focus. And hence it was very land-focused and inward-looking. That was the mainstream post-colonial literature. The alternative to that, which is obviously not mainstream, is the Indian Ocean world. Okay. So, of course, the author is talking about their book, which is Writing Ocean Worlds, which explores a set of novels. Okay. And those set of novels that the author explores in his book is focused on the Indian Ocean world. All right. So I would say that, you have the mainstream post-colonial literature, which is anti-colonial colonial nationalism. Okay. We have the Indian Ocean world. Okay. This is mainstream is also inward. Indian Ocean world is outward, definitely. Okay. And it focuses on aspects like full movement, border crossing, and south-south interconnection. Okay. So we have migration, and a very, very important part is south-south interconnection. Okay. So this is the first part. Then, of course, this is part A of the main idea. Part B elaborates on the south-south interconnection and how that led to remapping. By focusing on the south-south interconnection, the trade, right, and focusing on the south, it remapped the image of the world in the reader's mind. Earlier, the image was white dominated, was Europe and US dominated. What the Indian Ocean world did is, it put the focus on south. Okay, and then there were many important elements there, right? It put the focus on south. It said that, this is where globalization first appeared. That's a very important point. Okay, how it focused on Islamic space, color, and the south locations, and remapped it away from the north. Okay, so remapping is a very, very important element of the main idea. With the focus on south, this is where there are elements of globalization, how it started in the south, and the focus on color and south regions. So that's the main idea. I'll summarize it. The part A is the distinction between mainstream and Indian Ocean world, inward looking versus outward looking. The second very important part is how Indian Ocean world remapped the world's image, put the focus on south, explained how globalization started in the south, and focused on color and south regions, and moved away from the US and Europe dominance. That's the main idea. Okay, I hope this is clear. Lokesh, I hope this is clear. Other folks, but that's your main idea. Now I'll tell you how I approach a passage. Okay, see, basically when you're approaching a passage, right, you should be. Oh, Nishan Kishore is here. Hello, sir. Okay, good to see you. You came at the end. Okay, Nishan Kishore, by the way, is our 2022 student, right? Yeah, 22, not even 23, but he's in IIM Bangalore right now. Anyway, hey Nishan, good to see you here. Okay, so see how we approach passages is, and Nikhil was asking me this, right? See, what I always tell my students is, one, do active and aggressive reading when it comes to RCs. Read with a lot of interest, read with a lot of energy. Okay, it's simple. Start reading, read the first paragraph, take the main point out of it. So here the main point is, post-colonial literature was focused on anti-colonial nationalism. That's your main point of the first paragraph. Either make a mental note or take a written note. Don't shy away from taking written notes. If mental notes are not enough for you, okay, remember that just the act of putting pen on paper will enhance your comprehension. Okay, so if you're facing comprehension issues, put pen on paper, take a short note. It's okay. Spend that time, it will help you. But if you can, if you're happy with a mental note, if that's enough, go with a mental note. You can also start taking written notes, graduate to mental notes. Okay, so that's the main point of the first paragraph. Then you read the second paragraph, extract the main point. So here it says, how it introduces writing ocean worlds, and then basically tells you that how Indian Ocean world is outward looking, okay, and what is outward looking as opposed to the mainstream, which was inward looking. That's the main point of the second paragraph. Then you go to the third paragraph, extract the main point again. Okay, here it talks about interconnections and that globalization point, which is very important. So those are the main points of the third paragraph. Fourth paragraph speaks about Christianity and whiteness versus color, Islamic space, and south locations. That's the main point of the fourth paragraph. Fifth paragraph, remapping. No, not remapping. Fifth paragraph is all about Africa. Okay, so from the broader south, it focuses on Africa. That's the fifth paragraph. So take the main points of each paragraph, Once you're done with the passage, take 30 seconds to extract the main idea of the RC. Main idea doesn't mean 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. No, not every paragraph will figure in the main idea. Main idea has to be holistic. In 2 to 3 sentences, extract the main idea in your head or write it down. Once you have the main idea, go to question mark. Always extract the main idea in 2 to 3 sentences. Okay, and this doesn't matter whether there's a main idea question or not. Main idea will help you in all the questions. Okay, so that's what you can do. And one tip I can give you, if the passage is complex or if it's abstract content like philosophy and you folks are not used to it, you can extract a broad main idea. So if you've decided to attempt the passage and it's very complex, extract a broad main idea. Extract some broad main idea, of course it has to be correct, and then solve the questions that you can manage. Okay, never get stuck with details. When you're reading the whole passage, your focus should always be on the main idea. Okay, your job is not to understand each and every word of the passage. We're reading each and every word, but we're not trying to understand each and every detail. We're trying to understand the main idea. And then if there's a question focusing on the detail, we come back to a specific portion and reread that specific portion and answer it. Okay, so that's effective reading. I'll try and link it later, an effective reading session that I did on YouTube. You can check it out. In my VRC basics at 2IM, I sort of take students through 8 effective reading strategies, which are extremely important. There's one book by Norman Lewis, How to Read Better and Faster. If you're interested, I can link that too. That will help you. Okay, but that's my approach. Okay. All right. I hope this helped, Nikhil. Any other questions, people? Tell me. I'm happy to answer that. Any other questions? Anybody waiting for a question? I know there were some questions. How to be familiar with this kind of passage? Lokesh, the familiarity will come when you read more and more. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to expose yourself to different genres. And that's why leisure reading is very important. We have Bharat's reading list. I don't know if you know, but you can attach that as well. It's very important to read on a daily basis. And Nishant is still around. He'll tell you the importance of reading. And he pinged me after getting into Bangalore and he told me how reading skills are supremely important in a B school. I hope he's still around. He can tell you. But anyway, for CAT, leisure reading is very important. So Lokesh, what you'll have to do is you'll have to read. If this genre is not your, a comfortable genre, then deliberately go and read more of this stuff. So for instance, I'm not very comfortable with science passages. So I forced myself to read science. I wasn't comfortable with philosophy earlier. So I forced myself to read philosophy. Now I'm reasonably comfortable with philosophy. So read different genres, get comfortable with it. That's the way to go about it. Okay. All right. So leisure reading and then of course practice. Both have to be done. Any other questions, people? Serene Sea Monster, you had a question around, I don't know if you're still around, but let me know. Very important. There you go. There you go. And these case studies are 60 to 80 pages long, by the way. These professors throw dockets at you and you're supposed to like process it and do everything in a week. So there's a reason why CAT has VRC and focusing on reading. Okay. All right. Lengthy and important session. Yeah, my sessions tend to be lengthy. I'm that kind of a teacher. I like to discuss things and stuff. Yeah, I'll try to include timestamps later. I mean, you can see it, but next sessions will be quicker. Okay, I believe no more questions. So we'll end the session here. See you on Friday next time. Attempt the mock tomorrow. And if there are any questions, put them in comments. If you're a 2IM student, you know where to find me. If you're a non-2IM student, you can put a comment and I'll respond to your question. Okay, take care, everyone. Thank you so much, sir. So good to be back. That's great, Suraj. How much hours do we need to spend for a week to ace CAT? Oh, that's a very broad question, Lakshmi. I can't give you a number of hours, but depends on when you started and all of that. But I can tell you about VRC at this point in time, you should be at least reading for 30 to 40 minutes per day, leisure reading, and then practicing questions on top of it. So typically I tell people 2 to 3 RCs per day or 7 to 8 verbal ability questions per day. This is one part. And then at least bare minimum 30 minutes of leisure reading. That's for VRC. Then there's quant and DLR. So yeah, but we'll have to like the R's is a different calculation. Okay, thanks, Nikhil. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Good stuff, Nikhil. Your competency in VRC seems to be good from your answers. So definitely, keep working on it. Hopefully, you'll be able to capitalize on this section. How many RCs per day will be good for now? 2 to 3 RCs per day. I would say 2 RCs per day is good. So maybe on 4 to 5 days, do 2 RCs. On 3 to 4 days, do 7 to 8 verbal ability questions per day. Don't ignore verbal ability. Okay, are we doing 23 slot 2 questions next Friday? No, Suraj will be doing 23 slot 1, the remaining 2 RCs. Okay, 23 slot 1, remaining 2 RCs. Is 1 article in Hindu paper and Bharat's reading list is enough for a day? Lakshmi, that looks good. That looks good. Okay, yeah. Bharat reading, focus on the article more than the quiz. The quiz is very basic. Kudos on maintaining the reading list. Yeah, I mean, it's been a little sporadic to be very often. We're trying to be more regular with it. Okay, awesome. Thank you, folks. I will see you next week. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye.